Two sisters, two suitors, and a drunken wager about the nature of fidelity. What could possibly go wrong? This weekend only, Madison Opera presents Mozart's Cozy fan tutte, a delightful romantic comedy full of love, laughter, and true humanity. Escape into this timeless story of flirtation and disguise, set to Mozart's sparkling score. That's on April 24th and 26th in Overture Hall. Tickets at madisonopera.org.
Hi, this is Rob Thomas, and not only do I write the CityCast Madison newsletter, but I'm also writing a book. And when I needed help, I found it at Madison Writer Studio. Madison Writer Studio is hosting its 6th annual Fourth Lake Writing Weekend this July 26th to 28th at the Concourse Hotel in downtown Madison. Sign up for 3 days of creative restoration, invigorating and practical workshops with award-winning instructors, and an intimate, vibrant community, all designed to take your writing to the next level. Space is limited, so apply now at madisonwriters.com.
This is CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Today, are Madisonians generally happier than folks in other cities? Last month, Wallet Hub released a study that ranked Madison the 12th happiest city in the U.S., right behind cities like Scottsdale, Arizona, Fargo, North Dakota, Charleston, North Carolina, but we're reportedly happier than San Francisco, California, Honolulu, Hawaii, and Minneapolis, Minnesota. So we wanted to know, is Madison really that happy? We got to dig into that. And if so, why? And what might this superlative miss? Joining me today to talk about it all is a founding member of the local advocacy group Strong Towns Madison, Mike Tarby. Mike, welcome back.
Hi, Bianca. Happy to be back.
Yes. Well, Mike, before we get started, I just want to let folks know that we're in the final stretch of our spring membership campaign, and this is the part that really counts. AKA urgent, incoming message. Picture me running with a 70-foot-tall CityCast Madison flagpole across a cornfield to get everyone's attention. From each Madison Lake to Shining Lake, we need at least 75 people to join as neighbors by Friday. So go to membership.citycast.fm/Madison, sign up. To those of you who are already in our neighborhood program, thank you. And to those on the outside looking in, now is your time. That's membership.citycast.fm/Madison. CityCast Madison neighbors quite literally make our work possible. They fund our jobs. Your support pays our team and our bills so we can bring you this podcast, our newsletter, our social media posts, and what we're doing today, digging deeper into Madison headlines to keep it real and ask, are people in Madison happier? On CityCast Madison, we try to treat Madison with the utmost reverence and respect. Equally committed to celebrating what makes life great here, our green spaces, custard, and having honest conversations about what could be better. How can everyone feel belonging in this wonderful community? This work costs money. We're sweating at this moment, y'all, because we need 75 more people to sign up for this campaign. Can you see my flagpole waving? Mike, you've been on the show before. You are a hyper-connected person in Madison. What do you think the value of a show like this and a newsletter is for keeping folks in the know and really honestly offering context for folks so they can show up in Madison prepared?
Yeah, CityCast fills, I think, a really specific niche in the media space. You have like these kind of larger, like regional or even city like news outlets, and what they're focused on is getting like information to people. And I think CityCast is much more focused on the community driven, like having conversations with folks, like more kind of boots on the ground, not just the headlines, but like what's actually happening in town. It feels more reflective of just kind of day-to-day life, which I think is what a lot of people need right now. There's so much like distracting and so much pulling, people's attention to the national scale or the global scale. And it's really helpful to have an organization like this that kind of roots you more locally. And at least for me, since I've subscribed to the newsletter, like it's made me aware of so many more things that are happening in Madison. Like one of the best parts about the city is how much is constantly going on, and it's really tricky to keep track of everything. So the newsletter's been great. I've spoken to so many friends that have gotten so much out of it. So it's a really valuable program. I hope more people support it.
Mike, we really appreciate that. And gosh, if folks could hear those words, if you are amongst the Mikes of the world and you feel the same way, and Mike's friends, and just have, more information at your hands for living in Madison and what's going on, consider joining us. We need your help. Join at membership.citycast.fm/Madison. Plus, I got to talk about the perks. You do get perks for being a CityCast Madison neighbor. You get ad-free listening, members-only events, which are really fun, bonus podcast segments. We're heating up with some bonus neighbors-only content on the Friday News Roundups. And if you haven't heard, I've been talking about a flagpole. Through the end of this week, joiners will get a beautiful custom-designed Madison pennant banner flag. We've been talking it up all week. It's CityCast Madison Blue, has a graphic of twin flamingos on it, and it says, "I live here on purpose." It just makes us so happy in this happy city if you join. So be purposeful, support this platform. Join us today at membership.citycast.fm/Madison. Okay, Mike, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
All right. A little context on why you're joining me for this chat around Madison being one of the happiest cities in the U.S. You're a person about town and about town, supporting Madison to be its very best. Among your many civic engagements, as I shared, you're a founding member of the local advocacy group Strong Towns Madison, which promotes housing availability, safer streets, and a more human-centric city. You were last on the pod in your role as co-chair of the Marquette Neighborhood Association Transportation and Safety Committee when Willie Street went through that experiment closing down the rush hour traffic lanes. We had so much input on that. It was great talking to you then. And most recently, you were out publicly pushing hard when Madison was running for the, quote, strongest town competition. Something I'd never heard of, but we were up for it. We love to be on a list when things are good. So before we dig into the latest study around happiness, can you briefly tell us about that strong town competition, what it was? Because it was spicy, and I feel like I just mostly watched from the sidelines.
Yeah, well, spoiler alert, we finished runner-up, which was really exciting. There were countless submissions, folks across the country and Canada too, so technically qualifies as an international competition. Madison had a really strong submission. Basically, the contest is looking at communities that are taking steps in the right direction, be it housing, transportation, land use, civic engagement, accounting, how are they running their books, things like that. But it's not looking for the perfect city. It's not looking for a place that we've got all of our problems figured out, everything's golden, but it's looking for places that are identifying areas, acknowledging where there's room for growth and actually acting on it. And I think the Willie Street example was kind of one of the cornerstones of our submission as proof that Madison's okay, taking these steps, trying something out, acknowledging where there's opportunity for improvement and actually acting on it and not just saying, our hands are tied, the process is too complicated, it'll be years. So that was the competition. I'm really excited that we got as far as we did. Super proud of Madison.
Yeah, it makes me think if you wanted to date a city in the U.S., who's working on themselves, right? Right? Everyone's got room for growth if we're being honest, but we want the receipts. Are you actually trying to get better? That is so wild that we got runner up. And I also understand it. We really do try and be a solutions forward city. Let's dig into this happiness study where Wallet Hub looked at 183 U.S. cities. That includes 150 of the biggest cities in the U.S., plus 2 of the largest cities in each state. That's why a city as small as Fargo was in the running with a city as big as San Francisco. When I saw that, I was little unfair, but hey, they compared these cities on 3 key dimensions. 1, emotional and physical well-being. 2, income and employment. And 3, community and environment. Mike, how do you feel about these categories?
I feel like they missed most well-hydrated or number of Stanley owners or something like that, because I feel like my happiest friends are the ones that I always see taking sips of their water bottle. And I think that's true. I'm so upset if I'm hungry, poorly hydrated, eating schedule. I don't know if that should have been a criteria. I don't know how they would have measured it. That's their problem. But
this is so real. Absolutely, that is key. I had not considered it, but yeah, have you had water today? Have you eaten?
This is a hydration check for all of your listeners. Posture check too. Everybody sit up straight, drink your water.
Yeah. So why do you think Madison is the 12th happiest city in the U.S. based on these markers? Are you buying it?
I am, and I'm definitely biased. I moved out here for work initially. I stuck around after I left my first position, but there's so much going for a really moderate sized city like Madison. It's not as overwhelming as the Chicagos, the New Yorks, the LAs of the world. And I think that also sort of lowers expectations for people, for better or worse. People come into Madison, they're like, oh, it's not one of these, massive cities. But then you find out how much it has to offer. The entertainment is really phenomenal. I've been super impressed with the live music that comes through Madison. I think it helps probably that we've got a college of 50,000 undergrads in town. The food scene is really impressive, which was also not a criteria. And I'm surprised that wasn't like a driver. That's such a socially engaging thing too for communities. I feel like that promotes happiness quite a bit, but our parks are super awesome too. And that's why I'm kind of glad that there wasn't like a public survey as part of this, because depending on when that happened, like if you ask Madisonians in February, how is Madison? I feel like everyone's just done with winter. It's been half a year already of like cold and dark and sad. And then like May, June rolls around. You ask people at the farmer's market, they're beaming. They've got their fresh produce in hand and their coffee. So two kind of extremes of the Madison experience.
Yeah, that's so real. It's spring fever time. We're emerging
Totally.
from our house. And people are out all year, right? And there are people who are drawn to Madison for those winter sports. But also I thought you might say, well, if folks are commuters going over John Nolan, and there are a couple of things that might impact how happy folks feel in the city.
Traffic is a universal constant.
And we're growing. So it certainly seems like people are hearing the word about our amenities and the things that make Madison great. I like that you talked about food once again. I also think with my stomach, we've got food conversations every Thursday. So that's a big part of Madison's happiness. I guess for myself, I'd say, yeah, I do think that Madison is a happy city overall. And I've thought about this question a lot, and Madison's got a tale of two cities in some ways, which is like, how many resources do you have? If you have money to have time off, can you enjoy the beautiful lakes? That's something I think about a lot. But if you are, generally well employed, Madison is this tasty, intellectual, green space haven. And if you're not, you might be thinking about moving somewhere else because it's getting more expensive. We asked our audience about this topic because it's so subjective. And I'll borrow the categories from Wallet Hub to kind of structure this deep dive. So let's talk about what y'all had to say about Madison's emotional and physical well-being. This is Loudon, my buddy, local artist and teacher, who talked with the CityCast Madison team at a recent craft market at Garver Feed Mill. Here's what he had to say.
So I think the perspective of how happy somebody is actually more inner perspective. It's hard to say if Madison is happy or deserves to be considered happy, because if you're not happy, you're not going to think, you go on vacation and you're like, oh, I could live here. This is the best place ever. And then you move there. I don't know if this has ever happened. And you're not happy when you get there, and it's because you're not happy.
That is so real, right? When you're visiting a place and you're thinking about the grass is always greener, when you get to be kind of like to what I was saying, if you're off of work and you have space to just enjoy what's great about it, it's amazing. But then when you're there and you're working and suddenly it's some of the annoyances or things that maybe don't quite fit with you show themselves deeper.
Yeah, the worries of daily life come back when you're in your hometown, and when you're traveling, all of that just melts away. You're looking at everything through rose-colored glasses. But I think it's true, like that applies to kind of every city, is like, how happy are you internally? I think the city plays a role in sort of fostering that. And like, does it help you do the things that help you stay happy? Does it help like keep you active and like socially engaged and things like that too? I think Madison makes a pretty strong case for it.
Sustained happiness.
Exactly.
All right. We got an email in from Glenn K, who said, "We are a happy city, evidently, surveys show. I personally and often feel a high degree of warmth and civility as I engage with townspeople. One observation I have is that many people who lead a perfectly happy life need to constantly temper this outcome by citing many legitimate concerns which weigh on them nevertheless. These concerns may be personal and related to familial challenges or national and world deprivations or unforced conflicts. But the through line is happiness, however one achieves that state. And collectively here in Madison, we are good at it. It's okay to admit it, not to try to diminish it. A thunderbolt will not strike you. Indifference will not infect your soul."
Poetic.
Oh, Yeah, I might fall into that category. He went on to say, for the record, Madison makes me very happy. 10-year resident, civic engagement, cultural and education opportunities, access to nature and friendliness, and cleverness of the residents are all outstanding. Glenn, thank you. Mike, reactions to his message.
I appreciate that because I feel like, especially right now, there's so much of a focus on like being real about everything and like understanding the challenges that are, present in the world. And that's important, but you also got to like celebrate the wins. If you're not celebrating the wins, like it's just going to be harder and harder as the days go on. Like you got to acknowledge what you do well. You got to celebrate it. And I think he's right.
Yeah. It truly is something that I appreciate, that I think it's vulnerable to be in a place of joy. It's vulnerable to embrace and say, actually, yeah, I am happy, when maybe you see others who are not. And I think that's where it gets a little tricky for me, because I know everyone is not necessarily feeling as connected and good, but we have some clear certified wins, like civic engagement. People are really politically engaged here. The cultural institutions are fantastic, and educational opportunities. UW is great. Like we do rank high for a lot of things. And I kind of think about it, if you're happy in your relationship and you're with your friend and they're single and they just can't find their person, you tend to you don't want to be like, God, I'm so happy. God, I'm so grateful I have this. However, this is a moment to celebrate, and we're going to do it,
And Madison is supposed to be a great city for singles, as you talked about, so...
Yes, we have done a show on that, so go look up that show, which was really fun.
Hey y'all, it's Haley Sperling here, executive producer at CityCast Madison. We've officially kicked off our spring membership campaign, and we have something really special for new neighbors who join over the next 2 weeks. Maybe you've seen Oxford Pennant's wool pennants on Instagram or hanging around your favorite local spot. They've done collabs with some of my favorite artists like Joni Mitchell, John Prine, Fall Out Boy, and My Chemical Romance, and now they've made one just for us. It's blue, has our city name front and center, a flamingo icon, obviously, and says, I live here on purpose, because we do. These are designed specifically for CityCast Madison. You're not going to find them anywhere else but right here during this membership drive. So get in on this while you can. Plus, when you become a CityCast Madison neighbor, you're also getting ad-free listening, invitation to our members-only events, and more. It's $10 a month or $100 a year and goes directly to supporting this show and the team of locals who make it. Join by April 24th to get that pennant at membership.citycast.fm/Madison. Again, that's membership.citycast.fm/Madison.
Let's move to the next category from the Wallet Hub study, income and employment. Beverly B. wrote in an email, I have not been more miserable in this city since 1963. The overwhelming number of large apartment complexes that continue to be built has eroded the city's charm. The property taxes in Madison are so high that I am sure many people may be able to afford a house, but not the taxes. I pay $4,000 for a 700 square foot condo, just to give you an idea of how bad the taxes are here. You're saying people are happy here. How much do these people make? What are people talking about when they say they are happy here? What are they happy with? You should have another podcast on what makes you unhappy about living in Madison.
Back at it with the realism. Let's ground ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, and that's more or less my point. Like, this is an affluent city, and I think we frequently hear Madison punches above its weight, and it also seems to be more expensive than Milwaukee. So the tale of two cities and resources are really real. And Beverly B., I feel you on this. Particularly, to pull out something she's talking about, which is the aesthetic and the charm. I think some of Madison's neighborhoods are extremely charming, and they're great to walk through and see the different historical features and what have you. And downtown, some of the quote-unquote character of the city might be changing with different trends for construction and what's possible and the bids that you get and who we're letting build in certain places. So it's a complicated one.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought up like the charm and the character, because when I think about that, like my experience, if I'm walking down the street, I'm never focused on like, is the building next to me 4 stories or 8 stories? I'm focused on, is there a cute shop that I'm going to pop into? Or if it's like late on a Saturday night, like, am I going from Ian's to, Cielo or something on State Street? I worry sometimes that like we're focused on these kind of artificial things that we think have a really outsized impact on folks' experience in a space, when instead it's like, maybe we just need more spaces for like small businesses, or like those things that actually contribute to your experience in a city, and also like the economic like options and viability for folks living here. Like if we have more kind of spaces for small business, can people like start to afford the city more like easily? But honestly, I mean, I understand the listeners' comments, because I think there's sort of 2 camps where there's people that have started to move to Madison once the ball's already rolling, and like there's been all of this interest, and like the people that have moved here, I think in recent years, have come to expect that it's an expensive place to live. Like they know the amenities that are offered, but they also know like, yeah, it's pricey. I know what I'm getting into. Whereas if you've been here for a while, you've sort of seen that like melt away, and what used to be a super affordable place to live has now become not that.
Some deep challenges there around affordability. And we got a message in from Nate M, who said, honestly, and maybe this is a bummer answer, but I think Madison ranks so highly because it's demographically very white and well-educated and well-employed. Any reactions to that?
I mean, it kind of goes back to like the civic engagement part of it too, where we're just not forced to have as many difficult conversations. I think there's been a lot recently, like a lot of focus on homelessness and like the housing situation, which sort of touches on that, but we haven't had, nearly the same like level of challenge with these larger, societal issues as like Minneapolis or Milwaukee. So I think there's truth to that. And it's an uncomfortable thing to talk about and acknowledge. Like, yeah, we are predominantly white. Like I just checked earlier today, it's like 70 or 74% white. So there's comfort if you're in that like group, and that like you feel that there are a lot of people that have shared life experiences, but if you're not, it's a very different experience.
Yeah, for sure. I want to read an email that came in from Jennifer W., who emailed with the subject line, improvements needed in Madison. She says, quote, public schools are horrible. Student behaviors are out of control. Taxes are too high. Public transportation is lacking and ineffective. I think everything else in the city is great. So people, bringing some of the issues to the forefront, as we started with the comment from Glenn Kay that a thunderbolt will not strike you if you don't talk about the problems. But I think for me, what's interesting with what you shared, Mike, is sometimes those harder conversations about different experiences across demographics aren't being had, and hopefully that there will be more opportunities and people lean into that discomfort a little bit so the city can be happy for a wider group of people. I ended up doing a historical survey as a Black person living in Madison. There's a center at UW who's doing research to collect Black stories, sort of like a modern day Green Book. When the Soulfolk Collective asked me, are you happy in Madison? And do you think other Black folks are happy in Madison? And would you invite them to move here? I was like, dang, I kept going back and forth because I'm like, I am happy. And recognizing, okay, if I want to have a family here, the schools have racial disparities that are really staggering, particularly like experiences between white students compared to their Black counterparts in terms of disciplinary actions that are taken. There are a lot of disparities. And I just had a conversation recently with someone where they're like, Madison has the best schools in the country. And I thought, for whom?
Right.
And it's a crazy place to be as a mixed Black woman I'm Black and white and, the complexities of race there. But being on this line between identities where it's like I constantly want to talk about race with white folks because I have this perspective seeing into different worlds, and then also recognizing it's kind of like ruining their day. It's just like, I want to talk about this, but also like you have every right to enjoy the flowers by the Capitol.
But these are conversations that need to be had too. Like you can't, like what happens if we run from them forever? Like the problem's just not going to get fixed. And so like people need to be comfortable in that discomfort. and, acknowledge that there's room for improvement always. And my first instinct when I heard about like the school behavior is like, I want to throw Mark Zuckerberg under the bus. I immediately think about like just how our community connection has just dissolved entirely, and like kids are so separated. And I think that's part of like what contributes to this difference in experience, and like what kids get out of the school system and what people get out of living here is like, do they feel connected with the people around them? And I think Madison provides opportunities for that, but peeling people away from like these bad habits or like, whatever's entrenched them in their screens, or I sound like I'm retired, but
but it's so real. Like, it's just another layer of challenge and disconnection and silos where people are not having those real conversations. In fact, there are a lot of fake bots out there starting fights in comment sections that aren't even real, and they're stirring up disconnection and community. So I really appreciate that point. And now we have talked about some of the challenges, and it's not perfect, like you said, but I do want to turn to the next category because some of the answers haven't really reflected Madison as the top happy city just yet. The final category is community and environment. And we heard from a lot of happy folks in this realm, and it's part of my favorite things in Madison is our environment. So to the question, is Madison really that happy on Instagram? Misty said, part of the year, yes. I love Olin Park, laying in the grass overlooking the lake, Monona Terrace, and the Capitol. Annie M said, we have a lot of nature reserves and green areas, and hallelujah, thank the Lord. That is why I feel happy in the city and going on walks and being by the lakes and seeing the birds.
I love the opportunities for going out when they exist, like the 4.5, 5 months out of the year. When it's here, when the weather's great, like I've never seen happier people than like James Madison Park right before sunset, late June. It's picturesque.
There's something about walking past James Madison when I used to live over there and the sun was setting and everyone's out with their blankets looking on. And I felt like I was in Greece or something. I can't really explain it, but you see, sailboats out there. There is a boathouse that's really iconic, but you have to really try and not look over at the beauty and happiness at James Madison when you're driving past it because there's rays of joy. And it's like, I have to focus on East Gorham Street and not all of the fun and happiness happening to my right. Here's Lenny from the craft market on what they had to say about Madison being happy.
I would say Madison is really that happy. I've never been happier since the second I walked into campus and I walked into Madison, Wisconsin. I would say that the quality of life here is really so high, and all of my friends that I've met here and all the communities that I've been a part of, the food scene here is great. But yeah, I would agree. I think it is the happiest place on earth, and I'm very grateful to have ended up here. My happy place in Madison would probably be Tenney Park watching sunset. So yeah, I would say that is my happy place. It's a beautiful spot, and I really recommend it.
The sunsets. Here they are.
What did I say? Watch out, Disney World. Happiest place on earth. Madison's reclaiming the title.
Lovely day. Yeah, it's just like Bill Withers playing and people playing basketball. And it absolutely, the water makes this city really viable for me. I'm a water baby through and through. And I just like sitting and reflecting and journaling and eating snacks and drinking approved drinks by the lakes. NA bubbly rosés. And
it's a gorgeous city. Like, it's very picturesque. The lakes don't hurt at all. So many parks, so many just like very cute, charming streets. It's got a lot going for it.
It's got a lot going. And here's Kelly from the craft market.
I was born and raised here, then moved away for about 15 years, just moved back recently. Yeah, I think it seems like a happy place, right? There's the lakes and the parks. It's, green and clean, and yeah, I can see why it would be a happy place. My happy place. Yeah, I'd say probably just in like one of the parks alongside the lake. I'm not sure which one, but maybe B.B. Clark or maybe Memorial Union, or yeah, just being close to water, I think.
So I did not hear all of these messages beforehand, so I didn't mean to steal their answers, but I mean, I'm in good company.
Yeah, and that's the thing is there's so many too. Like the fact that the listener said, oh, I don't know, like one of the, countless parks. There's probably a dozen that, border the two lakes. You've got so many options. And it's also, it's such an active community. You always see people playing volleyball or, out at the pickleball courts or whatever. It's funny, like the second we get a warm weather day in Madison, like the streets are flooded, the sidewalks are flooded, everybody's out like smiling and just trying to soak up the UV.
Yeah, and I even get out to our other lakes like Lake Wingra or Lake Kaganza and try and spread my love across our many lakes in the region. On Instagram, I said that my happy place is the Terrace and the Lakeshore Path. I think Picnic Point, all of that entire area makes me very happy and feeling very nostalgic because I went to UW-Madison, and the Wisconsin Union chimed in with, quote, "We can't help but agree. The Terrace reigns supreme."
I'll throw an underdog into the mix at the risk of letting out maybe a well-kept secret. Behind Willie Street, if you start making your way towards Lake Monona, this is a sunrise spot. So it's not sunset. You're looking out to the east, but there are these cute little pocket parks that are at the end of some of those roads that basically head straight towards the lake. They're all super small. There's maybe a bench or two, but it's very like peaceful. It's very like intimate. And especially if you go there for a sunrise, like it's just an unbeatable experience.
Pocket parks.
Pocket parks. We need more of them.
Our last interview from the craft market was Addie C. Let's hear what she had to say.
I think Madison is so happy because everyone loves to go to events. Everyone loves to get together, share activities, share food, share drinks, and everyone just loves to be together. It's like a big, happy family.
A lot of people loving it up.
I'm surprised that was the first drink mention I heard. I feel like that's a Wisconsin staple too, is like everybody's going out to the bars. That's such a cornerstone of social activity too.
That's true. And we just did a conversation about neighborhood bars and asked our audience for input there. Like, what's your favorite neighborhood bar? And there's a study, it was probably, 2016, but that gave the glory of neighborhood bars their due, and that it's healthy to have a spot like you are a regular at a place. And that is something that I think a lot of people have across the city, just judging from the feedback and going to different establishments like Mickey's Tavern and Village Bar and Muskie Lounge. And, the list went on and on. We went for like an hour and we're like, we can't have this long of an episode.
There's too many. No, but it's true. Like when you are a regular somewhere, when you get recognized at a coffee shop or when a barista like says your name or when you bump into a familiar face out, like it gives you such a sense that you're like established, that you've got some roots in the community and you're like, oh, this actually is home. Especially for kids that just came out of college where you've moved every year or, you just started school in a different city and you've never had that sense of like being an adult in the world and like having your sense of community. It's really impactful. It's a cool experience.
Yeah. And all of the transplants and people that move here from up to any age, really trying to get a foot in to a community, that is easier. To your earlier point about some of the bigger cities, I hear this a lot, feel intimidating to folks. I love it, but I also get tired there. New York City, I was there, last time I was there for a week, I was like, I'm ready to go home. It was so busy and noisy and loud, but there was a lot of excitement. But Madison really is a more approachable place because of its size. And when people say it punches above its weight, there are all of these institutions and also events that are put on by quality event throwers. Like there's a lot of great festivals to go outside. There's a lot of ways to get involved. Obviously, that's your experience. You're one of the Mr. Madisons in our city. Like really
adding that to my LinkedIn profile, Mr. Madison.
Yes, please. One of the Mr. Madisons. Yeah, I guess, Mike, are you swayed at all by our audience and some of the feedback we got? Do you think Madison is happier or less happy than you thought coming into this conversation?
I think it's pretty dang happy. And one thing that hasn't been mentioned, so I'll give it a shout out to, we've got a cool flag. And that sounds like a really low bar to cross, but you'd be shocked how many horrendous flags. The city of Milwaukee has 2 smaller flags on their flag. And that's just atrocious. I'm very upset about it. Wisconsin needs a new flag too, but I'll leave that conversation for a different time. But it's a gorgeous city. It's a cool city. There's so much to like about it. It's hard not to be happy here.
The flags. Yeah, we're not going to touch on the state flag because we do need a new one. There's a CityCast Madison episode with a flag expert all about why our flag is awesome and has been recognized for being one of the greatest flags. So folks should check that out. And it's an important moment to say that we have this spring membership campaign, a flag pennant, a pennant flag with the word Madison on it. In blue, it's CityCast, it's Pride. Y'all join as a neighbor. Mike, thank you for being a wonderful neighbor and for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for everything y'all do to keep our community as strong as it is.
That's Mike Tarby, founding member of the local advocacy group Strong Towns Madison. Thank you to everyone who wrote into our inbox and wrote us on social media, plus those of you who talked to our team at Garver Feed Mill. An important announcement. Hear ye, hear ye. We are in the final stretch of our spring membership campaign. I want to thank our existing members and our new joiners. The biggest kudos and thanks to Megan B., Elaine S., Karen R., Katie L., Belinda O., and Kelly B. Kelly B. said this, quote, "I became a member because I'm an avid listener and want to support local journalism." Do you feel the same? Do you feel the same as Kelly? If you do, you should know that you and anyone else who joins us as a new neighbor today through Friday will also get, in addition to supporting local journalism, our unique to this campaign custom Oxford CityCast Madison wool pennant, a token of local pride and CityCast Madison love. If you really want one of those beauties and supporting our team, join us at membership.citycast.fm/Madison. You can also check out the pennant there. More real talk, we need your help. We're making progress, but we're also well behind our goal. This is a critical moment to keep CityCast Madison going. And to be clear, this is not just me spewing words. We need your support to keep making this show and to keep making our newsletter. Being a neighbor is just $10 a month or $100 a year. You get a discount with the annual. And in addition to the awesome pennant, you get ad-free listening, members-only events, and bonus podcast segments. Again, please join us. We need a mighty number to sign up this week, so be one of those names that I read tomorrow. Join us at membership.citycast.fm/Madison. That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm your host, Bianca Martin. If you enjoyed today's show, why not share this episode with a neighbor who loves living in Madison? You know, you can just tell. All right, send that on to them, and we'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until then, take good care, and as always, thanks for listening.